Hey YouTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today let's chat. Do you need luck to get published? If you're new here, welcome, and if not, welcome back. I'm really happy to have you here at my bookish YouTube channel. Thank you so much. So with this topic, I just wanted to kind of talk about it because it's something I've thought about a lot. People talk about it, do you just need to get lucky or is it skill? And obviously it's a combination of both. And also I just want to point out, I'm not published. I haven't actually tried to get published yet. I've only been writing for a little, I guess almost 2 years now, but I haven't actually finished a book that I would want to query quite yet. But it's just something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I would love to just share my thoughts here and then start a discussion in the comments. If you agree or disagree or have any other thoughts, I would love to hear about them in the comments. So yeah, definitely comment. So does it take luck to get published? Of course. Obviously it takes some luck to get published. And it even kind of hurts me a little bit to say that because I'm a big believer in you working for what you get and all of that growth mindset and everything like that, But it does take luck. There are things that are outside of our control that we don't have control over. And that is true in the publishing industry. There are fads, there are trends, there are, people have different preferences, different editors or publishers or whatever. There's just a lot of things that are outside of our control. But that doesn't mean that there aren't things that we can't do to control whether or not we get published. Because I think that if you continue to keep trying and continue working and use the right methods and do all of the things that you should be doing to keep getting better at writing and continuing to try and get published and all of that, then you are going to eventually get published. I think the average is something like 10 years. I think 10 years is pretty common. I've heard that with querying to get an agent, it's usually your third book that's an average, that the third book that you query gets signed by an agent. And that's not necessarily by an editor with a publishing house, just with an agent. I don't know. That's what I've heard. But I just wanted to share an analogy that my husband and I have talked about before with luck, because I think it's a useful way to think about it. So every time you're trying to get published, it's like rolling a dice, right? Or to be successful with writing or whatever it is that you think that, because that luck is involved with. So if every time you do that you are rolling a dice, then how do you not have luck involved there, right? Like J.K. Rowling just hit the lottery. Well, maybe. She was pretty lucky to make it that big on her first book and series and everything. That was partially because of how good the book was and different things like that, and partially because of the market and everything. And that's stuff that the market isn't something that we get to control. But here's what she did do. She continued to query. She got turned down a whole bunch. So with the analogy, this is what it is. Everybody is rolling a dice, but some people, they get to roll the dice 20 times. So if you're going to roll the dice 20 times, then, trying to get a 1, how likely is it that you're going to get a 1 versus rolling it 2 or 3 times, right? And that would be something similar to like J.K. Rowling. She queried and queried and queried and queried. Or that would be like writing a lot of different books and querying them all, Brandon Sanderson wrote, 12 books before he got published or something? A very high amount of books before he got published. And I think it was his 6th book that eventually did get published, but he wrote 5 books before that did not get published. And that's rolling the dice over and over again, working really hard, querying, not giving up, that kind of stuff. Here's the other thing. Maybe your dice doesn't have as many sides as someone else's. So let's say your dice has 3 sides and someone else's dice has 6 sides and someone else's dice has 12 sides. If you're trying to get a 3, you're way more likely to get a 3 than someone with 6 sides or 12 sides, right? That's kind of similar to writing 12 books, or even just having different connections, making different connections, continuing to find the right methods. If you're using a different method, then your writing's going to be better, so you're more likely to get published, that kind of thing. I think it's a really good analogy because I really believe that even though publishing itself is not in our control, there are things that are in our control and we should really focus on them. And that's a big thing when it comes to luck. You have to focus on what is in your control. My husband, I'm going to try and remember this exactly because it just popped into my head. I wasn't planning on talking about it in this video. My husband was recently telling me about this study that they did. They were trying to test learned helplessness. And so what they did is they were having people take a test like a stressful situation, right? And they had a noise going on in the room. And in one group, the people in the group didn't have control over it. And so they couldn't change the noise. And it was a really stressful noise while they were trying to take this really stressful test. And in another group, they could like turn it off. But what was interesting with the two groups was the ones that could stop the noise performed better than the group that couldn't stop the noise, even when the group that could stop the noise chose not to. So even when they still had the noise going, if they had the control, if they had the ability to turn off the noise, they performed better. And it was just interesting because it kind of showed that if we think that we have control over something, then we're going to do better at it. And so if we think that if we believe that we have the control, if we have the ability to get published, then we're going to write better, perform better in that area, and be more likely to get published. It kind of makes sense in like a common sense type of way. If you believe that you can do it, then you'll be more likely to actually do it. But I think part of it too really comes back to growth mindset, because I think that if you get really focused, like hyper focused on the outcome of getting published, then you're going to be less likely to do it as well, and you're not going to enjoy it as much, especially if it takes you a long time. Like both Brandon Sanderson and Wendelin Van Draanen, who went on to write many books, and I love their books and stuff. I'm really glad they were published. It took them over 10 years to get published, and that's a long time. I'm actually not expecting to get published for probably like 20 years. 10 to 20 years is kind of what I'm expecting, because I am a full-time mom, part-time writer, and I'm not going to try and make myself a full-time writer because I want to stay a full-time mom. And so I would be content with 20 years, but I am determined to get published and to continue to write and make my writing better and continue to query and continue to try and get published. And it's kind of like the quote from The Stormlight, which I just read, so it's on my mind, the journey over destination. Why are you writing? Are you writing because you want to get published? Of course. Well, not everyone is, but if you're watching this video, then I think the answer is of course. Like, there are people who write for fun, but I'm writing to get published. I want to get published, and I am not going to say that I don't. I'm not going to say, well, I'm content to just write for fun. I want to get published, and I want to have people read my books. I want to have them out there. I want to hold a copy of it, and I want to see it in a bookstore. And that's my goal. But I'm going to enjoy the journey. I'm not going to feel rushed. I'm going to take it one step at a time. I'm going to just keep getting better. And I'm going to focus on what I can control, which is the journey, because I can't control the outcome. I can only control the journey. I can only control what I'm doing. And I'm really going to focus on like the growth mindset. So growth mindset has you, first of all, it says that making mistakes is a good thing, because that's how you learn. So people who have a growth mindset, they don't feel discouraged when they make mistakes. They actually celebrate. They see it as a way to grow and learn and get better. And so I'm really trying to do that with my writing. I'm trying to say, okay, I'm writing something bad right now. I'm writing something that isn't very good for my first draft, but I am going to write it anyways and get it out on paper, and I'm going to make it a little bit better and a little bit better, and I'm not going to be afraid to show it to my writing group. And once I have it in a place where I feel like it's edited pretty well, I'm not going to be afraid to show it to beta readers, because the things that they point out, the not inaccuracies, like the flaws, I guess, that they point out are going to be really useful for me to make my book better and to learn and grow as a writer and to maybe even make my next book better. I'm not going to be afraid to send it to agents, because I know that when they reject me, it's okay, because first of all, I can learn and grow from that as a person, because rejection is good for people. It is good to know that not everyone likes the same things as you or accepts you're exactly the same, and that's okay. And I also know that it's not me, it's not personal, it's taste, or if they give me good feedback, then I can take that and make my book better. And you know, I know not every agent does, but some do. Some give personalized feedback, especially if they like it, you know, except for certain things or whatever. And I'm not going to be afraid to publish it either, although I'm not going to read reviews. I already know that I couldn't handle reading reviews. I get mad reading reviews, negative reviews, for like books that I really like that I didn't write. So I just don't want to read reviews because I don't want to have to deal with that. But I am going to have my husband read them so that he can give me the feedback from it. But growth mindset also focuses on 3 main ways to improve. You improve through hard work, you improve through method, and you improve through asking people for help. And I am going to incorporate all three of those things into my writing so that I can work towards getting published. And so hard work, right now what I'm doing is I'm working on making a very consistent writing habit and working on my book every single day. And right now I'm working on 30 minutes, but I do plan on increasing different things, like maybe spend more time writing or thinking about writing or different things. But right now I'm focusing on a 30-minute timer and working on my book very consistently for 30 minutes every single day. And Monday through Friday. I don't actually work on my book on the weekends. I submit on Saturday to my writing group and make sure that's all ready, and then on Sunday I do a blog post. But Monday through Friday, 30 minutes every single day, and that's the hard work that I'm putting in right now. And it's very consistent, and I actually am really happy with the progress that I've been making doing that. And then method. So the things that I do to try and help with my method, I watch AuthorTube videos that teach me about writing, and I read craft books. I also submit my writing to my writing group and I get feedback on it so I can change it, and also so that I can see where I need work as a writer, like, oh, do I need to focus on character arcs right now? Do I need to focus on dialogue or whatever it is, so I can put my conscious effort towards that during my writing time. And that is, I think getting feedback is one of the best methods that you can do as a creative and as a writer. And then getting help from people. Like I said, I have my writing group and they are really, really helpful. I also am excited for when I can eventually get an agent and editor and rely on them for help with different things. And yeah, so those are the three things that I am basically doing. I know that I'm confident that by doing those three things that I can improve my writing enough to eventually get published and get my books to people who will really enjoy them too, which would be really cool. The last thing that I just wanted to talk about is survivorship bias, because everybody always talks about survivorship bias. Because it is a thing, right? Someone gets published really easily, and so then they're like, well, it's easy to get published, or whatever, you know. But I think that part of survivorship bias is not exactly what we think it is. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, because like J.K. Rowling is a good example of survivorship bias. She wrote a book, and it was her first book, and she created a whole bunch and got rejected, and then got published and blew up and was huge and did really successful and stuff. And I don't think that that's the right method for everyone to just focus on their first book. Some people are going to have to write more books than that and stuff. But I also think that survivorship bias could also be like the survivors. Like, yeah, sometimes it's just the people who happen to get published, but sometimes it's the people who persevered. You know, like imagine if Brandon Sanderson had decided, sixth book, I don't actually want to keep writing. And then he never got published. I don't even want to imagine that. Never mind. Don't imagine that. That would be terrible. But you know what I mean? Like, the people who give up also have a bias, a non-survivorship bias. What's the opposite of a survivor? A victim? I don't know. But it doesn't matter. But they also have a bias where it's like they didn't persevere. They don't know. You never know. If you stop trying, then you never know if you actually would have gotten published. But I know. You know that you won't get published, but you don't know if you would have gotten published. And I am sure, I am 100% sure that if you continue trying, if you continue improving your writing, you have a good group around you, you're getting feedback, you're improving consistently, you're working at your book consistently, you continue to query even when you're getting rejections, and you don't stick with one book and all of that stuff, I believe that you will get published, even if it takes a long time. And so this is just a video saying, I'm not going to give up. I hope you don't give up. If this is what you really want to do and this is your dream, don't give up. I am here to tell you that I believe that you can do it. I do. No matter where you're at, whether you're just beginning or you feel like you're starting to actually feel like you're writing good books or whatever it is, don't give up. Or if you just have a dream to write books, you can do it. It's going to be hard, and it's not going to be something that you just do. You're going to have to learn to use systems, and you're going to have to learn to use habits, and you're going to have to write when you don't want to, and you're going to have to go outside of your comfort zone, but it's possible. And I truly, truly believe that anyone could get published, even if they don't know how to read yet. They could learn to read, learn to write, and get published. Even if they're a terrible writer right now, I believe that they could learn to be a better writer if they use the right methods and they work really hard, really consistently. consistency is really important. And get help from the right people and get feedback. That I believe that terrible writer could become a great writer and get published and be successful as a writer. And I don't think that it can happen overnight. I think that it takes a long time usually to get published. I mean, even if you get published right away, the process is long. But I think usually it takes people a while to learn how to write a book that is good enough to get published and how to query and everything. But I think it's worth it. So yeah. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Any thoughts that you have about luck, or if anything I said made you think of anything. I'd love to discuss this more in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe for lots of writing and reading content. And again, thank you for being here to watch. I will see you in my next video.